Hello everyone! Something that has always intrigued me about our environment is the large diversity of plants and trees. There are so many different shapes, sizes, and colors that lie within nature. So today we are going to be completing a lesson about the many types of plants and each having their own set of characteristics and forms. You can complete this lesson at home or in the classroom, so let's get started. For this lesson, you will need at least 5 different materials that have been collected from nature. These can include sticks, flowers, leaves, grasses, etc. I will show you what I've collected to give you an idea. A blade of grass, a leaf, a twig, a flower, and last but not least, another leaf. You will also need a piece of paper to take notes on, along with a pencil to write with, a container to store your materials in, a black piece of construction paper, another white piece of paper, and last but not least, some glue. So the first step in beginning this lesson is to create a chart. This will help organize all of our information and allow us to see the similarities and differences between the objects that we've collected. You will need 5 rows for each of the 5 objects that you collect and 5 columns to make note of the characteristics. So this is what the finished chart will look like. As you can see, I've already filled it in, but you will be doing that shortly. So to create this chart, I made 5 lines down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 5 lines across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On this top part, you're going to list the characteristics that you want to observe, and I've chosen to observe shape, size, color, texture, and environment. You can choose to observe different characteristics, but you must at least include environment. On this side right here, I have my objects: flower, leaf, stick, grass, and leaf. So that's where you're going to put your objects depending on what you collect. Next, you're going to go outside and collect some objects that are found in nature. Try to choose a variety of things rather than just one type. So as you noticed, I have a leaf, a flower, another leaf, which I could have chosen something else, a blade of grass, and a stick. So I have a pretty wide variety of objects. You're going to put these objects in your container and observe the material surroundings and the environment that they live in. And I want you to make note in your head the environment that you observed these objects in. So once you have collected all your materials, you're going to bring them inside to observe the specific characteristics. You're going to record these characteristics in your chart. So, as you saw earlier, I've recorded all of mine, but for example, you would take one of your objects, so let's use leaf for example, and you're going to observe its shape. So, it kind of looks like an oval with some gaps in between, so I think I'm going to record that under shape, oval with gaps. Next, you're going to look at the size. I'm going to just use a small, medium, large scale, and I'm going to say this is a medium leaf, considering there's probably much smaller leaves out there. So I'll record medium in my box. Next, we're going to look at the color. Well, obviously it's brown, but it kind of has some dark brown specks in it. So I'm going to put that in my chart. I wrote light brown with dark brown spots. You can add more, you can keep it simple, whatever works for you. And then I'm going to look at texture. It feels pretty rough, so I'm going to put rough. Simple as that. And now I want to remember the environment in which I found this object. I remember walking and I picked it up in a grass field. So I'm going to put in a grass field. And you're going to do that for all of the remaining 4 objects that you need to record. So, once you've completed your observations and your notes, I want you to look back at your chart. Do you notice any similarities and or differences between objects found in nature? If so, what are they? So for me, I personally found that while all of these objects appeared to come from the same environment, there was one that came from a pot on my porch. Now, that's a little bit different of an environment, in my opinion, because we bought those plants rather than just picking them up from the natural environment. I also noticed that the size of each of the objects I picked up were fairly small. One was a little bit bigger, but for the most part they were all small. And I also noticed that the colors of each of them were very different. While 2 of them were green, they were completely different colors and hues of green. So, my conclusion is that while objects in nature may appear to have similarities, they are all very different and they have their own characteristics, so it's important to keep that in mind. So now that we have finished observing characteristics and drawing conclusions about objects that are in nature and plants and whatnot, rather than throwing these materials away, we are going to turn them into a fun art project. So, you will need a white piece of paper, a black piece of construction paper, and your glue. The project is as simple as this. You're going to glue your objects onto the piece of construction paper. You can do this randomly or come up with a design. Just be creative and have fun with it. But the first thing you want to do before you glue your pieces on is to glue this white piece of construction paper on the black piece. As you can see, I've already done this, but you just take glue 1 dot, 2 dot, 3 dot, 4 dot, and 5 dot, and then place the white piece of paper on top so that there's this black frame. Once you have finished doing this, you can start gluing your materials. So I will do this as an example. I'm going to put 5 dots on my white construction paper. You can glue each thing at a time, or you can do it the way I'm doing it. It's up to you. And then I'm going to glue my pieces on. Some things might require more glue than others, so just keep that in mind. So I just chose to do a very, my stick doesn't want to stay, but I just chose to do a very random design, but this is my finished product. So once you've finished, not only have you learned that different plants have their own set of forms and characteristics, but you have a beautiful piece of artwork that you can hang on the fridge or in the window of your home. I hope you found this lesson valuable, and I also hope that you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. For parents and teachers, this lesson addresses Science Standard 2-LS4-1, which is included in the Common Core State Standards for Oregon, 2nd grade. Make observations of plants and animals to compare the diversity of life in different habitats. Although this lesson doesn't address habitats, it does address the diversity of life. In addition, this lesson supports Art Standard VA.2.CR2.2.3, which is also included in the Common Core State Standards for Oregon, 2nd grade. Repurpose objects to make something new. Through this lesson, students are repurposing the objects that they collected into an artistic piece. Overall, students have the opportunity to take their lesson outside and bring something creative back inside the classroom or home. It's a fun and engaging way to get students up and moving as well. They are able to make connections to the world around them and also where they live. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.